continue to put more and more protections in place as far as like secondary containment and redundancies to ensure that we're not having those groundwater impacts and soil impacts.
I have to follow up with that because that's just another huge inaccuracy that the general public is referring to this industry as fracking, and what government, DEQ, and industry would like to keep saying, and they're saying it worldwide, is that fracking, the stuff that's going on deep in the ground, is not the cause. But actually, it's everything about the fracking industry, including the drilling, including all of it, that people in general are referring to as fracking. So there's a wonderful video, documentary film about it called Unearth the Fracking Facade, all about this very thing that you just saw happen here, where they just try to sweep that under the rug. That it's fracking isn't doing it; it's some other stuff, but it's the fracking.
Okay, Aaron.
Okay, guys. This panel has been wonderful. I'm part of an organization that I can't really mention because I'm a state employee. So I have 1,000 questions for which very few will be able to be answered because, you know, I could go on and on and on. So I just have 2 simple ones. Will you be offering another presentation like this in the future? I think the audience would benefit greatly by perhaps a little bit more detail. That would be very nice. You know, I would like to say that other DEQ presented situations, they did have the state police out in force because they were expecting protests and craziness from the public. So I think this audience would benefit again by another one, a third one. The more education, the more facts that we have, the more questions and time we have to ask is really beneficial to a deeper understanding.
Yes, I think the point is well taken. I think we learned a lot tonight about allowing 15 minutes. So I would assume our planning commissioners would like to bring in the speakers individually. And I guess what we'd like to ask you to do on the survey form that is on your chair, there's an area there for the subjects that were discussed tonight that you'd like to know more about. And I think what we will do is schedule a seminar for each one of those. Please also list your name and address on there. We'll make sure you get either an email, a letter, or some sort of notification. We'll also do what we did for this one and have you know, media coverage and that kind of thing. But yeah, we will definitely do that, provide that opportunity.
Okay, and just
Yes.
One thing I forgot to mention in my presentation is we are having another public meeting in Rothbury on July 27th, and we're going to have 3 speakers. We're going to have myself, a DEQ person, and an oil and gas attorney. There's a suggested donation of $10 to cover meeting expenses, but we're going to have 3 speakers over 2 hours. So if you're interested in getting more information in depth about a lot of what was talked about tonight, that will be another opportunity for you that's not very far away.
just two simple
It's July
questions.
27th. Just contact our office, and my contact information should be here in the handout, the Oceana County Extension Office, and they can get you all the information about the meeting.
Can the DEQ oil and gas guy talk about the Ionia well for a moment? I was driving on I-96 coming from Lansing on Saturday, and the hydrogen sulfide smell at that location for the hydrofrac well may or may not have been, the hydrogen sulfide smell I was smelling may or may not have been due to that particular Ionia County well. It was horrendous. So what was happening on Saturday, last Saturday? About 11 o'clock in the morning.
I'm thinking the well is on confidential status, but it's already been spilled the beans that that well's been plugged. So I know they're wrapping up that abandonment process, and I know there's tanks there that they've got to clean. That's another discussion that we're having internally with regard to frac tanks. Things that were approved upon from the Oceana well to the Ionia well, we're going to continue to build on. in Oceana, just to give you an example, the flare kept going out because of the nitrogen. So, and there was a 30-second delay on the autopilot. So, with respect to Ionia, we went to propane-assisted flare and lower auto lights. And they added gas busters and sulfur control. But the weakest link, when you can smell sulfur dioxide in the parts per billion, it's very detectable to the human nose. If you still got a weak link, you've still got an odor issue. So we're working on that and looking into that with these A1 tests and recognizing that we're in these areas, these populous areas, that even though we've got vapor recovery on all these systems, if the weakest link is like tank cleaning or oil product or something sitting in the frac tank, we might have to look at vapor recovery even on some of those frac tank vents. So very well could have been some of what you were smelling. I don't know. I know I absolutely had odor complaints during the flowback operations.
Did you get complaints about it when people smelled it?
Yep, and our staff was out there at midnight on a Sunday.
Okay, moving on to the next question. I've got one here, we'll come back there and then there. And if you could ask one question with respect to the other people that have questions, and one question at a time, we'll come back to you if we can. One question for you, Richard. Would you be willing to list the chemicals that are used in the fracking process? This individual realizes there is a state statute that exempts you from disclosing those, or the industry from disclosing those, but is the industry willing to list all of the chemicals that are used in this process?
Well, first of all, we're not exempt from having to list those chemicals. Excuse me. We are required to list material safety data sheets and to provide those to the DEQ, who lists them on their website. We have to provide them to first response providers in that township or that county. We have to provide it to them, and they have to be posted at the well site on everything that we inject into the chemical. So, you know, yeah, we're willing to list it, but we have to do it anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that needs to be cleared up is what disclosure is. There's federal trade secret that's out there for industries. So when we see frac projects and chemicals disclosed to the DEQ, whether it's a completion report or the MSDS sheets, you may get, I have to disagree with you, Rick, a little bit. The simple frac's probably 12 chemicals. I mean, I've seen lists of 30 chemicals, and I've seen, you know, on a typical list of that, quite often you'll have about 3 chemicals that are listed, and it says proprietary and the percentage, you know, so you're getting at the formula, is the trade secret protection that's under the federal. To get at that, states have to amend their state statutes to get at that. In DC last week, it sounds like there's a lot of movement afoot federally to work on that trade secret. In Michigan, in Canon, the major operator up north, they told their service companies if you can't disclose what it is, don't put it in there. So I think part of the environmental group's pressure on this trade secret issue has caused companies to go that way. From our standpoint, a regulatory standpoint, these three chemicals, the unknown chemicals in there, they may be benign, they might be toxics. They're going in there in a very low percentage. We're not picking them up in any kind of VOC scan. And frankly, if there's a spill or a release, we've got other protocol that we're going to take up. If there's a spill or release, we're looking for methane, BTEX, chlorides, and a trace of some undisclosed chemical is going to be to a lesser extent. I understand that's scary, but you have to keep it in context.
Thank you. Right here, and then we'll be back there.
I would like to know why the special deep injection well disposal wells are necessary if it's just household chemicals in such a low percentage. And also, has it ever been
One
denied?
question, sorry.
Well, a lot of the well disposal wells are there particularly to dispose of brine produced from oil and gas operations. The wells are also approved via the EPA and DEQ to allow special class 1 wells are used to dispose of these fluids that come back from our hydraulic fracturing operations and from, other those type of acidizing jobs. But predominantly, we have most of our disposal wells to dispose of brine fluids that we're required to by the DEQ, we're required to by the EPA to get rid of brine that we produce in our operations. The other chemicals, and fluids that we have are a very, very minute portion of what's actually injected. And it's also my understanding that not only these wells are used for the oil and gas industry, but they're used for other industries too that have wastes that are different or same or probably even worse than what we put out to dispose of from many of the other industries in the state that use chemicals as well.
Thank you. Back.
Yeah, I want to get the lawyers into this before they fall asleep over there. Other legal authorities have suggested that there's actually more that municipalities can do in the area that you're calling kind of gray areas. I'm wondering if you could be more specific about how townships, for example, can proceed in some of these gray areas. Should they go ahead and test the waters by going with ordinance amendments and that sort of thing? Or are they running some risks, and what are those risks? Can you be a little more clear on that? You seem to be saying that there are only one or two things that are possible. Others are saying there are more. And I'm wondering, where should a township actually go?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm not sure what if you're talking about what local governments can do in other states, you have to realize that that Michigan law is different and every state is different. You might read about some city local bans on fracking in Pennsylvania or New York or in Colorado. Those are not necessarily applicable in Michigan. But it's a very good question that you ask when a township or a local unit of government, what should they do? And again, that then becomes a policy issue for that local unit of government, because they have to react to their citizens' concerns about the community, and that involves the environmental aspects as well as the rights of the property owners in the area that would like to lease their property. But in terms of what should they do, should they adopt an ordinance and test it? That's a matter, again, of their policy. Local units of government have very limited coffers, and they aren't getting a lot of help from the state or tax bases in a lot of places to help up those coffers to fight fights. And they have to realize that they can adopt an ordinance, and if it is challenged, you have people who deal with oil over there who have lots of bucks. You have the DEQ over there who some people maybe sitting next to me might say, well, they're in bed with them. They get leases, they get whatever. And Adam could probably speak to that as to what the DEQ will do. I would assume two things are possible there. One, the DEQ will say nothing and will not support the local township trying to do something, because they'll say, that's your ordinance, you support, you fight it, because we've followed the law in issuing our permit or in considering our permit. Unless there's a jurisdictional issue where the MDEQ and the Public Service Commission want to establish their exclusive jurisdiction, and they want to put up that fight. But I don't think you're going to get much help from the state government as a local unit of government, or from the other members of the public. Now, there may be groups around here that want to say, if you want to do this kind of an ordinance, we'll support you as the test case. And that's great, but will they put their money where their mouth is and supply the support to pay for the township's legal fees? Again, those are just issues that a township board or city commission or village council have to consider. And when somebody from the public says, we perceive this as a problem, is there anything you can do about it, or we would like you to do this about it? You go through the normal process of considering the pros and cons, considering the potential whether you're doing something legal or not, or consider, is that something that we can fight the good fight over and still pay for? The units of government need help from the state if they're going to be assured that they have some role to play in this area, because it is unsettled.
Sam, would you like to jump in on that?
Yeah, well, I'm addressing a fellow panelist's accusation here. You know, I didn't make this personal. There's been some personal attacks, I think, on the integrity of the DEQ, our staff. But one thing is that you're entitled to opinions, but you're not entitled to your own set of facts. And to portray it as a fact that the DEQ is in bed with the oil and gas industry is grossly inaccurate. There's no unholy alliance or budgetary deal that was cut that pays our salary. What was done, the legislature long ago set up a dynamic funding source where, in addition to the royalties that these companies pay, in addition to the taxes that they pay, we implemented another surveillance fee tax on oil and gas, whereby we can run our program through permit fees and make up any other additional money to run our program to oversee the oil and gas company, the industry. We receive the surveillance fee. That's tacked on to natural gas liquids, natural gas, and oil. We set that fee. The legislature, through appropriation, has been supporting us. We're currently full staff. Again, I point out that we have 60 FTEs. I'm not saying 8 FTEs for the Bakken is right, but I'm telling you that we're sized right, and I'm confident that that dynamic funding source would allow us, with an increased oil and gas activity, to properly ramp up our staff to keep pace with that. Now, that is not true of other programs that don't have that sort of funding source. So to suggest that we'd be better off or have more integrity if we were paid by the general fund, I think is just inaccurate, unfair.
It's not an accusation. By stating the fact that the DEQ does get money directly from the gas and oil industry through the mechanisms you just explained, and I've heard Hal Fitch explain it in much the same way once he's pressed on that issue. It's just true. It's nothing personal. You're an agency, and that's. I would like to say something about the question in the back about local ordinances, though I know it's late. There are some other organizations, and take a look at CELDEF, Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund, that's doing community rights-based ordinances. Also look at what the city of West Bloomfield has done and Cannon Township has done. Go to Flow for Love of Water. They are another firm in Michigan that's doing a lot with local ordinances. Those are great resources.
We are at 9:40. Is the panel willing to go till 10? Or would you, does anybody have to get out of here?
It's getting late. It's getting late. I mean,
Could we do about 3 more questions?
3 more questions.
Okay, and we will follow up. Are you, if there is in interest by the audience, and any one of you coming in and doing a presentation on your own, or maybe two speakers, would you guys be willing to do